Alright folks, we are going to start this vlog with a very important order of business. I am going to take this COVID test. Just for full disclosure, I don't think that I actually am going to test positive for COVID-19. The reason that I am taking this at-home COVID test is the same reason that everybody at my workplace is. All the staff at my particular school got these COVID tests today at work, and we are supposed to take them tonight and report our results, within the next few hours, and then we'll get an idea of how many people are going to test positive and have to stay home, and then the same thing will happen with the students tomorrow. At the end of the day tomorrow, they'll all get at-home COVID tests. They will go home, they will take them, and then we will get an idea of how many students are going to be out. So that's why I'm doing this today. Hey Caitlin! I need you to ignore the fact when you come upstairs that I'm vlogging myself taking this at-home COVID test.
Okay.
What is all this shit? Oh my god, there's so much stuff in here. Oh, a booklet with a lot of instructions. Okay. So insert the absorbent tip of the swab 3/4 of an inch into your nostril. Ah, this is horrible. Okay. Tap the tube vertically on the table. And twist the large orange cap to open the tube. Touch the bottom of the tube with the swab's tip and turn at least 15 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm just going to do it a few more times because why not? Okay, squeeze the sides of the tube to express as much liquid as possible from the swab. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Squeeze. Set a timer for 15 minutes.
Sure, 15 minutes. And that's starting now.
I legitimately feel like I'm waiting for the results of a pregnancy test right now. I wonder what would happen if I peed on the other one, like you do with a pregnancy test. Don't worry, I'm not going to use my other COVID test to test that out. Look who's negative. Yay! Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first day back at work post all of us taking COVID tests yesterday. It looks like we actually didn't have a lot of staff that tested positive because there aren't really that many more people out today than there usually are. So that's reassuring, at least that on the staff side we're all good. We will see what happens when all the students take their tests tonight. So this morning I am going over some student test scores. All my students just finished taking the multiple choice portion of what we call their progress check, which is their end of semester sort of standardized test from the county. So I'm going through and marking down all of my students and the percentage that they got correct. And on Thursday, it's Tuesday today, on Thursday they're going to do the writing portion. So tomorrow I'd like to show them a graph of their scores so they can see, without knowing who got what score, they can see how well they did. And they did overall really, really well. So I want them to go into their writing on Thursday with that motivation of knowing that when they did the multiple choice, they really got what they were talking about, and so they can go into the writing and also be really solid on it. I'm also going to do the same thing for the new students who are coming into my class next semester. I'm looking all of them up too and writing down their scores so I know who was kind of getting the material in their previous class and who I might need to work with a little more. It's the next day now, by the way, which is why I'm sitting in the exact same spot but wearing different clothes. Welcome to the repetitiveness of my life. But I just wanted to come back on and say, just as a friendly reminder, that just because a lot of the current infections of COVID-19, at least among non-disabled people, are more mild, that doesn't mean that you want it, that you should just sort of not take the precautions and get it. I had, as you guys know from the vlogs, an extremely mild case of COVID-19 last month, maybe the mildest of anyone almost that I knew. And yet, even though my case was so mild, I now have this cough that I got when it was the first onset symptom of COVID-19 back on December 3rd, and it's almost 6 weeks later. It'll be 6 weeks on Friday, and I still have it. Now, it's not like a horrible hacking cough that impacts my quality of life. It's more of a nuisance than anything else, but I mean, it is still there after 6 weeks, after I'm completely recovered in every other aspect from COVID-19. So as you're speaking about this variant like it's nothing, one of the things you might want to think about, in addition to, are you willing to be responsible for whoever is vulnerable in your life who you might infect, also think about in the symptoms that you might get as a result of COVID-19, which one are you willing to roll the dice and potentially have for 6 weeks or more? Because this is the least intrusive symptom I can imagine having for 6 weeks or more, and it's still unpleasant and unwanted and awful. So any symptom that you could get as a result of COVID-19, you are rolling that dice, and you could have any one or more of those symptoms for months after you're recovered. So bear that in mind as you're thinking about this as just this sort of no cause for alarm, we're all gonna get it and it's gonna be mild type of variant. It's not as simple as that for a lot of reasons, but this is just one that I want to present to you. camera on, so I don't know how I'm gonna film this. So it is Monday now, Monday the 17th of January. It's a day off because it's Martin Luther King Day, and it snowed over yesterday into this morning. So I came out here on a little sort of snowy walk. It kind of turned to rain near the end, so it's not as snowy as it was before, but it's still really pretty. Here, I'll pan you around so you can see it. It's very windy right now, so that's a little bit, makes it a little bit colder. And I'm drinking this, which you guys saw me making. It's not a traditional hot toddy, but it is pretty close to that. So it has chamomile tea and a little bit of tequila and some agave nectar. So I wanted to come out here and sit in the snow, kind of to get out of my house a little bit, get some air. Oh, it's maybe a little too windy to have started filming again. Oh no. I've been really tired. The cold makes me really tired, so it's hard to get up the energy to do things. But I'm doing my best. We're out. We're in the wild here. It's very windy. I really hope that's not impacting the sound. And I've heard a lot of people on Instagram and places like that refer to today as Blue Monday, which apparently is about the time in the winter when you start to hit a wall with the winter time and you just don't feel like it anymore. And that really this year feels like what this weekend has been. It's just been a whole Blue Monday weekend. But anyway, I'm gonna go back in the house after I finish my sort of off-brand hot toddy. And first I'm gonna clear off my car, not that there's much snow on it after the rain. And I'm gonna spend a lot of time reading this afternoon, I think. That's really all I wanna do right now. I have some work I need to do. We'll see how much of it gets done. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to 2022. Happy New Year from me. Those of you who are new here and might have looked at our feed already and might be thinking, why is this person saying Happy New Year when they've already posted in 2022? Just so you know, we are a channel called Are Y'all Two Twins? So there are two of us. And while my sister has posted, I think 2 or 3 times so far this year, I have not. This is my first video of 2022. So Happy New Year from me. I hope everybody is having a great 2022 so far. I know some of you are probably thinking, Sarah, it's January 22nd. Why are you filming in front of a Christmas tree? And the answer to that question is, it is very aesthetic and we haven't taken it down yet. Okay, I just watched that footage back and I'm sitting way too far down. I look like I'm sinking into quicksand, so this should be better. So the reason I'm filming today is because I am doing another readathon this month, and I wanted to show you some of the things that I chose for that readathon. Now, me saying I'm doing another readathon might be confusing for some people because there is no footage of me having done a previous readathon. What happened was I tried to do the sweater weather readathon back in October, and I failed at that. I read 50 pages of 2 different books, and then I just gave up. I was too busy, I didn't have enough time to do it. But this one I am trying again. It is called the Hello 2022 Readathon, and it goes from tomorrow, January 23rd, all the way through Saturday, January 29th. The hosts of this readathon are 9 really amazing YouTubers, and I will link all of their information in the description box so that you can go and check them out too. So for the Hello 2022 Readathon, there are 4 different prompts which I have up on my phone, and the first prompt is a book that you hoped to read in 2021 but didn't get to. So the choice that I made for just fully knocked over my pile. Okay. So the choice that I made for that category is going to be Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater. You can see there's a bookmark in it. I actually did start this book in 2021. I was bringing it with me to work because on Wednesdays my students start the day with 10 minutes of independent silent reading, and I was bringing this as my silent reading book. But about 140 pages through, I realized that because I was reading it at work while I was also keeping an eye on the students, I wasn't actually absorbing much of it, and I also had other books that I wanted to read. So I put it down, and now I am picking it back up. This book is the second in a series, which in itself is a follow-up series to another one. I wonder if I could have explained that more confusingly. So the original series that this is based on is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, and she wrote a follow-up series called The Dreamer Trilogy, which is the in-progress series this belongs to, which centers around one of the characters from that first set of 4 books. I will actually be real about this. I've read the first in this series, and I like the original series a lot better than I'm so far enjoying this one. These are a lot grittier than the original series. The Raven Cycle is very sort of mythical urban fantasy in nature, and these are more sort of gritty, dark urban fantasy. But I do still really like these books in general and these authors' books and the characters that this is based on. So obviously I want to complete the series, and because I didn't get to this one in 2021, I really want to get to it in 2022 before she publishes the final book, which I believe comes out either this year or 2023. I'll have to check on that. Alright, if I do it at this angle, then I don't look like I'm sinking into quicksand, and you can fully see the books. Sarah, refilm stuff that you filmed wrong the first time. My answer to that is no. Appropriately then, as a follow-up, the second prompt in this readathon is a book on your 2022 TBR. Now, as you'll see when we get into the next couple of books, this is actually a place where I could have doubled up, but I didn't. So I chose for this prompt A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk. I actually have read some works by Freya Marsk before, even though this is her first actual novel, and I really like the way that she writes. So when I heard that she was writing a full-length book, I was really excited to get it. And I went to Barnes & Noble a couple weeks ago. I came out with 4 different books, but this is actually the one I came in for. This is the one I said, I'm not leaving the store until I find this. I actually don't know too much about this book. I realize now I told you nothing about The Raven Cycle, but you should read the earlier books first anyway. It's a sort of gritty urban fantasy type book about people who can pull things out of their dreams and manipulate time in certain ways. It's actually really hard to explain because it is the second book in a 3-part series that is itself the sequel to a 4-part series. So maybe it's better that I didn't try to explain it. But this book I actually know very little about. So I'll give you an idea from the book jacket. What I can infer from it is that it's about these 2 men who have a connection to some sort of magical society, I guess. And they sort of meet up after a mysterious disappearance and kind of clash with each other a little bit, and they have to solve the mystery of why the person disappeared and navigate some really dangerous circumstances at the same time as the bond between them starts to grow. I really am excited to read this. I haven't decided which book I'm going to read first yet, starting tomorrow, but this is a solid contender. I'm really interested by this book. Moving on to book number 3, our prompt for this one is a book that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. And the book I'm reading for this is actually not the book I was intending to read when I first created this TBR. I was hoping to get to this book before the reading challenge started because it's for my church book club, and I wanted to read my first book of the year and this book and then start the Hello 2022 readathon with a clean slate. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I actually have the book that I'm reading right now with me, so I'll show you. This is not related to the readathon, but this is the book I'm reading right now. Blackout by Connie Willis is a time travel story. It has, again, another side note, reawakened an obsession with time travel in me. It's a very good book. But I'm an extremely slow reader, and this book is 500 pages long. So it is taking me a while even reading as fast as I can. So because this one is taking me so long to read, I didn't get to the book club pick before the readathon, so now it is actually becoming part of the readathon. I was not planning to read something about racial justice for the readathon for this prompt, because I actually, even though that is an area where I think I have some level of inherent discomfort, because I think most of us do, and that's completely okay. It's okay in your journey towards sort of racial equity and racial justice to have some continuous discomfort with the subject. But I have been doing a lot of reading about that subject in the last year, so even though this would be a book that pushed me out of my comfort zone, I wasn't planning to read it for this. I was going to choose something else. But here we are, and my book for this prompt is going to be Cast: The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. It is Isabel Wilkerson talking to us about the way in which our society has these kind of implied hierarchies which dictate the way that we experience our society and experience each other, and the way that those are entrenched with, in some ways, you know, white supremacy and other movements that are not oriented towards equality. So she's gonna sort of dissect a lot of these different situations and explain to us how we can start to move beyond those barriers. Now, the final prompt of this reading challenge is a book about new beginnings, and I was really excited about this prompt because even though I wouldn't normally think to do a reread of a book I've already read for a readathon, the reason I was excited about this prompt is because it gave me permission to read one of my all-time favorite books again. And that book is No One Is Here Except All of Us by Ramona Isabel. I first heard about this book years and years ago when I was an editorial intern, a copy editing intern at a magazine, a small independent women's magazine in New York City. And I did a lot of my work in the books section and the culture section of the magazine. So I read a lot of book reviews, and either one of the issues I was working on or one of the issues that I was just reading around the office had a review for this book. And I fell in love with the idea of it and bought it and read it, and to this day it is one of my favorite books. Much like Mr. Impossible, though, it's actually really hard to explain, so I am going to read the book jacket to you and then attempt to explain to you why I like it so much. So here is the description on the book jacket. It says, in 1939, the residents of the tiny Romanian village of Zelezcik are counting on their isolation to protect them from the catastrophe sweeping Europe. When a mysterious stranger is washed up on the riverbank and the illusion of peace is shattered, the villagers are forced to acknowledge the precariousness of their situation. Their Jewish ancestors famously moved and escaped for thousands of years, across oceans, deserts, and mountains. Now it seems there is nowhere else to go. But even with danger imminent in every direction, the territory of imagination and belief is limitless. At the suggestion of an 11-year-old girl and the washed-up stranger, the villagers decide to start the world over. Through sheer will and imagination, they will reinvent the world, deny any relationship with the known, and begin again from scratch. Destiny is unwritten, time and history are forgotten, jobs, husbands, and a child are reassigned. And for years there is boundless hope, but the real world continues to unfold alongside the imagined one, eventually overtaking it. And soon our narrator, the girl grown into a young mother, must flee her village, move from one world to the next, to find her husband and save her children, and propel them toward a real and hopeful future. So this fits the prompt of New Beginnings kind of twice over, because we have this really, really strange premise of a group of people in a remote village who realize that, you know, the Nazis are potentially going to come for them, and they just decide to reinvent their whole world and start all over again. It's not science fiction. They don't actually start the world over in a practical sense. It really is sort of about imagination. I promise you it somewhat makes more sense when you read it. So you have that new beginning where they all just decide to erase everything and start over. And then after that pivotal moment, you can kind of imagine what that moment is going to be, where history catches up to them. Then you have a second new beginning where we follow some of the characters, including that girl that the book talked about in the description, who go out into the world outside of that village and start new lives all over again. The writing in this is so beautifully poetic. There are scenes that make me sob because they are so beautiful and so tragic in some ways. And it fits the prompt so perfectly. I cannot wait to reread this again. It's been years since I read the whole book over again. I just do a lot of going back to sections that I really enjoyed or that really moved me. So hopefully I'll get to read that whole book over again. So the reading challenge starts tomorrow. I don't know what book I'm going to read first. I do know that I have to start Cast tomorrow because I want to read that a little bit at a time every day so that I finish by next week. But I don't know of the fiction books which one I'm going to read first. A Marvelous Light is the one I'm most excited about, but Mr. Impossible is a book that I think I could knock out fairly quickly, as is No One Is Here Except All of Us because I've read it before. So I don't know which one I'm going to do first. If you tune in when I actually make the video showing you what I did on this readathon, you can catch up and see what choices I made about what order to read the books in. Because I'm a slow reader, I'll honestly be overjoyed if I get through one book, since I don't have a big track record of finishing multiple books in 1 week. But I don't know, maybe this'll change it. It should be a good week to do it. I'm not nearly as busy. I don't have any after work plans, any evening plans really this week, and it's the end of the first semester, so I get to work from home on Monday, which will give me a lot of chances to just sit down and take reading breaks. If you want to follow much more in real time how I am doing on the readathon, I will try to post updates to my Instagram. The link will be in the description of this video, and you can sort of tune in and find out how I'm doing on the Hello 2022 readathon. I hope you all will do it as well. I hope to see you there and at the reading sprints that the organizers are doing. And have a great January. I'll see you in a week. Look at that sunset. Wow. I knew that 5 books in 7 days was probably not going to work, considering that I have a tendency to read books about 1 book a month. Do you have to do that now? Is it? Jasper, is it important?